Hi guys, this is Jay. Welcome back to Forbidden Files and today we're going to investigate a disappearance case in Singapore over 10 years ago. A young and pretty female singer disappeared after work late at night mysteriously. Her mother heard her crying for help in the dream. This is 2009 Mystery of Crying for Help in the Dream. On the late night of November 20th, 2009, Mom, save me, with a squawk, Jang Jongyun, 49 years old, awoke from her nightmare once again. Regardless of her tears, she jumped out of bed, looking for pen and paper while desperately recalling every detail of the dream. Her daughter, 26-year-old Han Yanfei, disappeared in Kretaiar, Singapore over 10 days before, and this had been the third time her daughter cried for help in her dream. Seaside, building, spiral staircase, dark top floor. She took down all keywords as she recollected the details bit by bit. She had a vague impression that she was walking on a spiral staircase, a seemingly endless one. The stairwell signs weren't clear enough, so she could only recall she reached the 6th floor of a building, with the sound of waves lapping against the shore overhead. But there was nothing but darkness above. In the dark cloud, she seemed to see her daughter crying for help. Mom, save me. What did these messages mean? Were they simply her hallucination because she missed her daughter too much? She couldn't sleep after her daughter was missing, often having nightmares that her daughter was trafficked to be a prostitute and got killed with her body dumped in the wilderness. The dream this time was extremely vivid though. She was eager to remember all the details of the 6th floor room where her daughter was confined. Jang Jongyun thought back with pain. I was jolted awake, either dreaming she was killed or dreaming she was trafficked for something illegal. Her daughter, Han Yanfei, was born in Liaoning, China, in 1983. She was only 26 when she disappeared, having obtained the work permit in Singapore. On May 22, 2009, she began to work as a singer at a local karaoke club. The club was located in Kretaiar area, the well-known Chinatown in Singapore. The reason for the name Kretaiar is that in the early 19th century, there were no tap water facilities in Singapore. Fresh water needed by the whole island had to be transported by ox cart from the wells on Siang Hill and Spring Street to this area and then to other places. Thus, the area where ox carts gathered is called Kretaiar. As Singapore's economy developed rapidly, this area became an emerging modern business district. Its prosperity attracted many young people craving for a new life. Han Yanfei was one of them. Back in her hometown, Yanfei used to have a short marriage that left behind merely sorrow. At that time, her parents' business was heavily in debt. Her father had to look for temporary jobs while her mother sold tickets at a local bathhouse. Yanfei, who did accounting work, couldn't help them financially with her low income. The life of the family got harder, as if it were sinking into inescapable mire of fate. Luckily, Yanfei was not only pretty, but also had a beautiful voice and wonderful singing skills. From one of her friends, she learned about the singer job in Singapore. Over the following month or so, there appeared to be some good luck for her. Everything went smoothly: interview, contract, and visa. Shortly, she was able to fly to Singapore. It looked like a new door opened for her in life. With her dream of becoming a singer and the joy of restarting her life, she got on the flight to Singapore. However, her journey there was just like one into an abyss, and she disappeared forever. Whatever happened on the night of her disappearance? On November 10th, 2 days after her disappearance, the boss of the club she worked at, Mr. Song, called the police. After investigating, the police found she had a 6-month contract with the club that was about to expire. Not happy about her work, she didn't want a renewal. She bought the plane ticket for home already, planning to leave Singapore on November 27th. Her disappearance was unexpected. At November 8th, Yanfei got off work after a busy day, left the club at 113 Telakaya Street, and then returned to her apartment on Pedon Road in Jalan Besar. She had a day off on November 8th. Her co-worker and roommate, Tong Shai, needed to work that day. Shai told the police Yanfei had been sleeping after returning that day. Until Shai went out to work, everything was fine. November 8th wasn't a busy day for the club, so Shai could get off early. At 10:30 p.m., preparing to leave, Shai called Yanfei to ask her if she wanted some takeout while Yanfei said no. Shai remembered Yanfei sounded calm at that moment, so she didn't feel anything wrong, but when Shai came back to the apartment at M, Yanfei was nowhere to be found. After the police investigated the apartment, they confirmed there were no signs of forced entry. That's to say, Yanfei might leave voluntarily. Why did she leave all of a sudden? Shai recalled a regular of the club, called Stephen Ng, was very close to Yanfei. He always came to watch her shows, went out with her, and helped her move stuff in her apartment. Looked like they two really got along. Her mother, back in Liaoning, also recollected Yanfei once mentioned she had a boyfriend in Singapore, a very thoughtful and stable businessman. The couple planned to take a tour to Sentosa on November 8th. The police focused right away on this Stephen Ng. Soon, they found his public housing condo in Haogong. To their surprise, Stephen Ng was married. More weirdly, he went missing a few days before, and he disappeared on November 8th too. According to his wife, on the night of November 8th, Stephen Ng went out again after coming back, and stayed out all night then. His wife called him the next morning, but heard no one speaking on the other end, only the sound of waves. Then the phone was hung up. Later, she wasn't able to get through to the number. His wife felt really bad about it, assuming he might be in the East Coast region, so she started looking for him at once. Then she found his bike in the parking lot. The police set out to investigate in that area, and found Stephen Ng in the nearby waters. Days later, he was drowned for days, only with his underwear on when he was discovered. Han Yanfei disappeared and her boyfriend died, making the case more mysterious. Yanfei was the only child of Zhang Zhongyun. After she disappeared, Zhang couldn't concentrate on her work, so she quitted. Her 50-year-old husband was so worried about their daughter that he was hospitalized for heart attack for 20 days. This left them with 15,000 yuan's medical debt. Zhang kept dreaming her daughter sobbed out being captive. She begged Zhang to rescue her in Singapore. Zhang decided to seek Yanfei there by herself. In the early hours of November 29th, Zhang dreamed about her daughter once again. She was still held captive in a seaside building. In the dream, Yanfei begged in anguish, asking Zhang to be sure to arrive in Singapore on that exact day. Originally, Zhang planned to set off a week before, but wasn't able to book a flight. The flight was fully booked the day before with her on the waitlist, but she found she got a seat out of nowhere when she woke up that day. What did that imply? At 11:45 p.m., November 29th, Zhang finally arrived in Singapore alone. On her arrival, she received a piece of news that shocked her to the core. On November 29th, a headless female body was discovered in the bushes of Petter Park in Bukit Panjang. The female was found only with her underwear on, just the same as Stephen Ng. After interviewing the neighborhood, the police learned the residents smelled a foul stench the Friday before. At first they thought it the stink of fertilizers, so they just ignored it. Until an old man, Mr. Chen, could no longer bear the stink. Tracking the smell to an unnoticeable cabin on the hill in the park, he found the headless female when he opened the door. Examined by medical examiner, this corpse wasn't really headless, yet the head was too badly decomposed for its shape to be identified. She was 20 to 35 years old, about 1.65 meters tall. Zhang's daughter was 1.65 meters tall too. When Zhang got to the police station, she was so afraid it was her daughter that she asked to see the body in person, but the police worried she couldn't withstand it. They only showed her some photos and objects from the crime scene, and had her DNA tested. Zhang examined those objects, a watch, a bracelet, and a pair of slippers. She thought they weren't her daughter's, but the DNA test result was to be available in another 7 days. Through the help of nice local people, Zhang went everywhere her daughter might go. There were still no clues. When they came to Stephen Ng's home, it wasn't his wife who opened the door, but a young couple. They said they had just moved in the other day. unaware of what happened or who Stephen Ng was. What made Zhang more anxious was ever since November 29th, she hadn't dreamed about her daughter. On December 7th, the DNA result came out, accompanied by her distant relative, Miss Hu. Zhang came to the police station, ready to accept the difficult reality. But much to her relief, the result showed it didn't match Yanfei. This female victim wasn't her daughter. It was such a weight off Zhang's mind. She calmed down and recalled more details. Yanfei often chatted with her online. Once she told Zhang it was tiring to work at a club. She didn't make much money, had no intention to renew the contract. Zhang remembered she wished to come home 2 weeks after getting there. She said, "Mom, we've been conned. It isn't the same place as we imagined." Zhang thought her hardship was inevitable for working abroad. She had to at least fulfill her contract. Zhang regretted not having her come back sooner. Also, Yanfei told Zhang before a male friend introduced her to work in another country, yet he was a gambler and was engaged in illegal loan sharking business. When his money was tight, he'd ask her to pay for his meals. Strangely, Stephen Ng worked in textile business. No evidence indicated he was a loan shark, nor did Yanfei mention her boyfriend was married. Was it because she found it hard to tell Zhang that, or could Stephen Ng lie to her about his marriage purposely, or could it be a mere misunderstanding? Could the boyfriend Yanfei mentioned to her mother be someone else instead of Stephen Ng, or could she mean something else when she said been conned? A young, pretty single woman like Yanfei was highly likely to be coveted by people with sneaky malice. As suspicions emerged, the police needed to make new breakthroughs. Having asked Zhang for permission, they investigated Yanfei's laptop. However, they discovered nothing suspicious in Yanfei's chat history of November 8th. Oddly, her laptop wasn't in her apartment then. Instead, it was brought to the boss of the club, Mr. Song, by her agent the next day. Why was that? The police interrogated all club staff but without finding anything fishy. By then, the investigation couldn't go any further. However, Zhang didn't give up. She had a sign made with Yanfei's photo to inquire about her around the places where she had shown up. She would search everywhere for Yanfei with the sign as long as she heard of no bad news, she said, but she never found the building or the spooky room on the 6th floor in her dream. The local non-profit organization claimed they would have posters put up for the missing. Zhang's tourist visa, valid for only 30 days, was due to expire very soon. As 30 days passed, in disappointment, Zhang had to leave Singapore. It's been 12 years since Han Yanfei disappeared. If she's still alive, what was her life like during the past 12 years? A young and pretty woman like her would have to deal with various temptations. If she had been a little smarter, she would have chosen an easier way. No rented apartment, no working overtime day and night with meager salaries as a singer. Yet she refused to do so. Rather, she hoped to win herself a great life through her own efforts. Perhaps every young soul in search of a new life in faraway places is harboring this belief.